Back when I first started my YouTube channel around like 7 months ago, I uploaded a short talking about Stu Macher potentially returning to the Scream franchise where I said, fans have always wondered, will he return? Should he return? Sorry guys, but my answer is no. For many years now, fans have been debating and speculating on if Stu Macher will return to the franchise, and obviously I was always in the camp that he should not and will not return for multiple reasons. The original story treatment for Scream 3, written by Kevin Williamson, was gonna have Stu return as Ghostface leading a cult of killers along with him. And honestly, I think this would have been a really cool and nice finale to the original trilogy. However, the studio obviously went into another direction for Scream 3, and over the years, as more and more time went on, I thought the ship had clearly sailed for Stu to return, because due to the passage of time, it became more nonsensical for Stu to still be alive and waiting on getting his revenge. And in Scream 6, we saw him on Kirby's killer board confirmed dead, which made me happy to see now that we can finally put this dumb theory to rest. The police wouldn't officially list him as deceased unless they found a body at the crime scene, and I don't think he was going anywhere after getting stabbed multiple times and getting a TV smashed on his head. So if he actually survived, why would the police say he's dead? So that Sydney would feel more safe or something? That's not how crime investigation works at all. Or maybe you could argue he planted a body there or something and the police thought it was him. Guys, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this dude Stu doesn't really strike me as a criminal mastermind.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Or you could argue he's been in witness protection this whole time. Witness protection from who? The survivors? Come on, guys. We all just need to move on. Stu was a great killer in the first movie and he had served his purpose. It would be nonsensical and reek of desperation to bring this character back after 30 years. It's time to close the book, move on, and look forward to new inventive ideas the writers can come up with for Scream 7. Wait, what? So, I was clearly way off on this, and along with the news of Matthew Lillard returning to Scream 7, we also got news that Scott Foley was going to return in a quote, small role as Roman Bridger, a guy who we clearly know is dead after getting shot in the head in Scream 3. And David Arquette is returning as Dewey too, despite being dead. What the hell is this movie going to be about? All of this news, along with Kevin Williamson directing and Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox returning as Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers, has fans pretty hyped for this movie. But with all this news pouring in, I feel more worried about Scream 7 than anything. And I'm not the only one who potentially feels this way. Just a few weeks ago, Matthew Lillard had this to say about coming back to Scream 7. I am very excited and slightly terrified to be back because all I can really do is screw up a legacy that we have. I could really suck, and so that's my fear. My fear is that I come back and sort of punish something that I could never have touched and just been fine. I hope I don't F it up for everyone. So it's good that the cast and crew are aware of what a risk it could potentially be to bring Stu back. And for the record, I'm not the type of guy who buys into the whole ruining the franchise nonsense. If Scream 7 sucks, it doesn't have any effect on the original film for me. The first Scream will always be a great movie and nothing can change that. But the reason I'm worried about Scream 7 is that bringing back all these actors kind of reeks of desperation and it feels like the franchise could be going in the wrong way, backwards. We all know what happened with how Melissa Barrera was fired from this film and how Jenna Ortega left the film days later due to scheduling conflicts, which was actually made clear by Jenna just a few days ago that she left the film due to being unhappy with Melissa Barrera and Radio Silence no longer being involved. Not a great look. And all that just left a really big stink on this potential film and Spyglass as a whole. James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, the writers of Screams 5 and 6, already had a script written for a 7th Scream film with Sam and Tara as the leads, but after all that mumbo jumbo, they quickly had to switch course and come up with a whole new story. A new story that apparently will have Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, Dewey, the Meeks twins, Roman and Stu in it, with Kevin Williamson directing, despite just having one directing credit in his entire career, as he's primarily a writer. He's not even the writer of Scream 7. This really feels like a panic move by the studio to get their good mojo back with the fans as quickly as possible and manage to manufacture some hype for Scream 7, and it's worked so far. But how often does a production like this lead to a good movie? A story that's worth telling? I don't know, but underneath all the excitement for this movie, I just see a bunch of red flags. And if you're someone who's been advocating for Stu to come back after all these years, then I'm truly happy for you and I hope it works out. But don't you feel at all concerned about how last minute all this has felt after all the shady stuff Spyglass has done? This is the company that wouldn't pay Neve Campbell what she was worth for 6 and wrongfully fired Melissa Barrera and couldn't convince Jenna Ortega to return after all the sloppiness associated with the production. And now they just want to wave Stu Macher member berries in your face so you'll still be excited for the 7th installment of this franchise. It feels as though the Scream franchise has really started to become a parody parody of itself, which you can argue it always kind of has been, but when the Scream movies are starting to parallel the Stab movies, we could be running into trouble.
I mean, if you ask me, this whole franchise goes off the rails with number 5.
And I also ask, where do you go from here? If Stu is brought back and killed in Scream 7, where do you possibly go from there? What will the fans have left to speculate and theorize about when the news is slow? What underground buildup will there be left to have? Because, as I said in the beginning of the video, it's a huge leap in logic to bring Stu back after 30 years and try to just convince the audience that he's been alive this entire time. The Scream franchise's original appeal is that it takes place in the real world with smart characters and realistic situations. Granted, this dedication to logical consistency has started to wane a little bit in the last 2 films, but I digress. I don't know in what capacity Stu will be brought back, or what their explanation will be for where he's been since the first film, but their explanation has to be a good one, or the foundation of the film will immediately crumble from under the surface. Ultimately, I feel like the chances are stronger than most would like to admit that this will be a huge swing and miss from Spyglass despite the abundance of talent working on this movie. It all just reeks of the studio trying their hardest to please a niche group of hardcore fans in the cheapest ways rather than continuing the franchise in a way that's meaningful and necessary. And ultimately, Scream is my favorite horror movie franchise. I don't think any of the 6 films we've gotten so far are bad, and obviously, I haven't seen Scream 7 yet. So despite how negative this video has sounded, I'm gonna go into Scream 7 with an open mind and give all the talented people behind this film the fair shot they deserve, and you can definitely expect a video on this channel upon release. If they pull all this off and Scream 7 is a worthy addition to the franchise, I'll be the first to tell you all that I was completely wrong. But for now, while I'm excited to see it, I'm still worried about Scream 7, and I hope it can succeed in spite of the obvious fan service, not because of it. That is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.